What if I told you that there was another Genesect? That's right, Genesect, a Pokemon infamous for getting banned from every single generations of competitive singles play, had another Pokemon just like it. Enter Magearna. Magearna is a Pokemon that in Generation 7 was introduced and was one of the best Pokemon in OU. Some people wanted it banned, but it never quite got there. Generation 8 came, it got some new toys, such as access to Trick and stored power, and lo and behold, with the right support and the right metagame, it found itself banned 2 times over. Enter Generation 9. It's back, and it has Terrestrialization. It's getting even stronger, generation after generation. It finds itself with an amazing slew of moves that it could use at its disposal. Just look, moves of interest. That's more moves than I could put things on my resume. It's just absurd. It has an amazing base 130 special attack, great 115 defenses, and enough HP to be serviceable. It has good bulk, with amazing strength in tandem with a Fairy Steel typing, 2 of the best typings in the game. So it should not be no surprise why Magearna is so good. But, is it Genesect? Is it that good? In my opinion, yes, it is that good, and it might end up banned this generation, and it could end up a staple in the Ubers tier on the ban list from overused. Genesect is a Pokemon, for those of you that are not familiar. It is one of the most versatile attackers, especially on the special side, but also just in general. It's ran many sets on both sides that is able to handpick its own counters, besides the Heatran, which basically always walled it unless it ran Hidden Power Ground. Genesect got banned from Generation 5, 6, 7, 8, and whenever it gets introduced from 9, I'm hoping that it will start on the ban list. It's one of the more fun, offensive, dynamic Pokemon, as it can really do whatever it wants, but in the same right, playing around it is a poor guessing game. If you want a competitive environment, Genesect is not necessarily for you. If you want a fun one, Genesect might be there. Truth be told, though, Genesect had the whole player base in agreement that it had no place in a competitive OU environment. Magearna? Are we approaching there? Personally, I think so. Magearna is one of the best Pokemon in the game. No, it's not quite Regieleki, who got banned quicker than any other Pokemon. Check out my last video if you want to see more on that, as the fastest Pokemon getting banned the fastest is pretty funny. But Magearna is a good number 2 to that, in that it might be the second most broken Pokemon in metagame, and also the second quickest to be banned. Regardless of that, though, let's take a deep dive into what Magearna does in the metagame, why some are saying it's broken, why it might get banned because of that, and what we could do to potentially stop it if that's possible, or is this another Genesect situation where it's just too good to be true to the sheer amount of both practical and, quite frankly, possible tools to run. That's right, Magearna has so many tools that, again, I couldn't fit it on a resume. So, needless to say, I could fill a full team of 6 Magearna sets easily. And that's kind of the bar I like to set with these videos. I mean, if a Pokemon is this good, can it run this many sets? And honestly, I wish I could have put 12 or 18 or 24, but I tried to cut it down for 6 for you guys, just based on what I've seen a lot and based on teams that people have posted. Surprisingly, the most common set actually isn't the most broken one. It's still very good, though. People have been running a Jetpack with Flare Cannon, which is an awesome strategy and actually makes quite a lot of sense. This allows for Magearna to pivot out really quickly so that it can get a teammate in after using an attack that lowers its base special attack. So you get the strength of that, but you also get the positioning of using something like Volt Switch. It is only a one-off, and you're wasting your item with a Jetpack in doing so, but in my opinion, it's worthwhile. Obviously, there are some potential negatives. For example, if the opponent sees that you're a Jetpack because you're running on a Trick Room team, then they can switch in a Landorus or another Intimidate Pokemon and waste your Jetpack before you could even attack. But you still get the positioning advantage there. It's like using U-Turn or Volt Switch, basically. All in all, though, a Jetpack Magearna is able to set Trick Room up and then pivot out while doing the damage of Flare Cannon. This means it synergizes super well with physical attackers, as it baits in things that are especially bulky enough to do it, but enter Ursalana or Glasstree or something along those lines, and suddenly it's very, very, very hard to combat the 2 of them. You're suddenly in a bad position against that Pokemon that entered after the Eject Pack, or you put yourself in a compromised position against Magearna. It's impossible to cover the 2 of them. This is why a lot of people are thinking that Ursalana may be broken, and there is a lot of merit to that, and maybe we'll touch on that in a later video. I don't have anything planned right now, but who knows what comes in next day. I've been pretty motivated lately. With that in mind, though, Magearna's ability to be a catalyst for that is part of why some people might think it might be broken, and Trick Room is a little overbearing right now. You could also see this set just ran as a spiker that wants to pivot out, potentially to avoid a bad position. Doesn't have to run Trick Room. You also could see it even ditching spikes altogether, which is a new move it gets, and another reason why Magearna is that good, because we already have such a lack of consistent hazard removal, but now Magearna can be tailored to beat pretty much every single hazard setter ever. Isn't that wild? Well, needless to say, though, this Magearna is awesome. It's very effective. It's really one of the staples of Trick Room, which is one of the best archetypes right now. But I'd say what really pushes it over the top, and in my opinion makes it broken, would be the setup sets. In particular, it runs a set with Shift Gear, Calm Mind, Draining Kiss, and Stored Power. This is the bread and butter of Magearna, and one of the two sets alongside Choice Packs, which we'll get to later, which made it broken last generation. This set is able to capitalize on anything, especially with Terrestrialization. See, you tend to run it with Weakness Policy, especially if you pair it with Light Screen and or Reflect, which is common with it on Hyper Offense. This way, Magearna can take a fire attack under those, or a ground attack under those conditions, survive it, and then suddenly Stored Power does enough damage to basically take out a whole society if you needed to. And Draining Kiss is able to do enough damage to give serviceable recovery as well in the face of whatever threat you may encounter. Of course, Terrestrialization can also be used to manipulate this further. Personally, I love using Terra Water because it gives you a lot of resistances that you would be like weak or neutral to otherwise, and let's say you get the Weakness Policy boost from a fire move, you become a water type afterwards, or just want to get a free extra turn, water's great. Some people have also been running Flying to potentially be good against earthquakes, although personally Weakness Policy flying isn't as great a combination in my opinion, just because you're like not getting the boost there. It might be ran more so with Leftovers or Life Orb. I've also seen Grass, I've seen just people run outright Fairy, and even Psychic on Indeedee teams with Psychic Drain, which is actually just absurdly strong. It makes an archetype that's already problematic even more so, which is fun. Beyond that, though, there are other ways to use it. Classic Choice Specs, which runs Flare Cannon, Volt Switch, Drinking, either Ice Beam or Terra Blast Ground if you want to just Terra Blast Fairy, or even Focus Blast or Aura Sphere. You can even argue for a couple of other things as well. Ice Beam is just a set that was on the team I was using, so I switched to that. But yeah, it's crazy strong. If you're running not Terra Blast and you can keep Terra Fairy, then you get Flare Cannon boosted by Choice Specs, potential Soul Heart boosts, 130 special attack, Modest, and Terra. Just imagine, it's absolutely nuclear. Even things like Blissey are taking 45, 50, 55% from that, depending on if you're specially defensive or physically defensive, because some have been running more specially defensive sets this generation just to withstand the strong special attackers. But just going down the list, even Resist, like Amoongus taking 60%. Obviously Heatran can stomach it, but Landorus T would get one-shotted. Golden Go, despite Resist, takes 75%, and so on and so forth. Needless to say, though, between this set and, the possibility of just making the last move, Terra Ground, which lets you annihilate things like Heatran, Goldango, and even Tox Specs, it's very, very strong. It's potent, and Trick can also still get walls, although there aren't many walls. Some people have been running Scarf over Specs just because you get surprise kills. That's not as broken, as problematic, as immediately powerful and troublesome, but still good. On top of this, though, sometimes people run the Draining Kiss Stored Power set outside of screen teams with Leftovers just as an outright sweeper, and especially with the lack of Haze Pex right now and Cloudsire not being super duper common. Although you can run ways around Cloudsire with Magearna, but not necessarily as much on this one. This is a perfectly way of doing it too, with throw Leftovers or Life Orb on it. Just max out special attack. You kind of want 2 Shift Gears to outrun all the speed control, but it's still very viable just because of how bulky it is. Another set I've seen a lot of, which isn't broken, but just highlights the awesome sheer utility. You want Magearna to be a physical wall, you can check Chen Pao, set up spikes. Terra Grass actually complements it a ton too. Everything besides fire, suddenly it is able to sponge basically doing 2 typings, and it's also able to pivot and be a catalyst for your own breakers. And finally, one of my favorite sets has just been the Shift Gear 3 attacks with Life Orb. You kind of pick your own coverage. Bolt Beam, Terra Blast Ground is great. I've also seen people use Flare Cannon, Aura Sphere, Focus Blast, Flash Cannon, Terra Blast, Water on Rain team. One time I ran into. I saw people run Encore on this, which I guess is cool. Shadow Ball for Goldango is okay, I guess. I wouldn't really recommend that as much. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of ways to go about it, but oh no, it's just absurdly crazy how it can just handpick its counters, and nothing is truly safe against Magearna, and that is why I don't feel safe with it in the metagame. Personally, this weekend I do intend to vote ban on it unless something changes pretty drastically. I played a lot of games yesterday, played even more today, and there aren't really many survivors of the Magearna assault, to put it bluntly. So yeah, what do you guys think? Do you guys think Magearna is going to be the next Genesect, or do you think it might end up being more balanced? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, I don't love asking this too much. I'm trying to cut down it, but be sure to like, comment, subscribe. We're getting close to 10,000 subscribers, and follow me on Twitter for updates. I'm very, very active on there, and I quite like that platform. And it's dope, having this ability to be a prominent figure in the community and help dictate our cheering. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks, guys. You all have an awesome day. Okay, bye.